Really fun and informative piece from The Athletic today, written by Tim Brittain, who's handling all their contract projections, free agent stuff. He's doing a great job with it. So he did a thing where he had the 2023-24 offseason team needs, how every club wants to improve. And this definitely pertains to the Cardinals, because we wonder, like, okay, well, who are they going to sign? What caliber pitcher? Have they backtracked? Are they going to, we need 3 starters. We need 3 starters. We got to go get 3 starters. 3 starters. Now is it 2? Now is it 2.5? What caliber are we talking about? What category are we talking about? Are we talking about high-end starters? We're talking about middle rotation starters. We're talking about back-end row starters. We're talking about reclamation projects. We're talking about injury guys making a comeback. I mean, when you say 3 starters or even 2 starters, the range of possibilities are almost endless. But if you are looking for the Cardinals to dive into the top of the market and, the pitchers that really, when everyone puts their things together, rating free agents, the pitchers at the top, in any order you want to put them in, and I'm not talking about Ohtani, because number 1, he can't pitch this coming season. Number 2, he's unrealistic for the Cardinals anyway. But the non-Ohtani pitchers, like the free agent guys, and you can rate them, 1 through 5, 1 through 6, any way you like. But they're all in one group. It would be Yamamoto, Nola, Snell, Montgomery, Sonny Gray, Eduardo Rodriguez, and then maybe the next level down. You would go Stroman, Lugo, Imanaga from Japan, Giolito, Kenta Maeda, Michael Wacha, Hyun-Jin Ryu, James Paxton, Michael Lorenzen, Nick Martinez, and I could mention more and more and more, but you get the drift. Perhaps Sonny Gray, as we've talked about, he's 34 years old. Perhaps he'll sign for a shorter term and therefore be more accessible to the Cardinals, more affordable to the Cardinals than the other best available free agent starters who are probably looking for a long-term deal. We don't know. But I tell you what, here's what we do know, and this is where I get back to this Athletic piece, which I found informative, but also kind of cast a little bit of a reality check about the Cardinals' attempts to get starting pitching via the trade market. Via the free agent market. The trade market is a separate thing, and they're going to have to do that as well. At least one impact pitcher from that trade market, and I expect that to happen. We won't talk about that today, though. We're talking about free agents. The Cardinals, we knew this really under steep. They're in a steep battle here for the top starting pitchers, or even the next level down starting pitchers, because once the top starting pitchers are signed and they're gone, all the big boys out there, the big boy teams with the big payrolls, they're going to move on down to the next level and try to get those guys, which means if the Cardinals are going to end up like sort of looking second tier, well, that second tier is also going to be, that space is going to be occupied by some of the teams they don't want to see there, who are willing to, and unhesitantly willing to just throw money around. Anyway, according to Tim Brittain, 19 teams other than St. Louis are in clear need of high-end starting pitching, and that's his term, high-end. 19 teams other than the Cardinals are in clear need of high-end starting pitching. Now, that list includes some of the big shooters in the big payroll game. Dodgers, Yankees, Braves, Red Sox, Cubs, Mets, Phillies, Rangers, Giants. The Twins also are looking for a high-end starter because they're not going to re-sign Sonny Gray. So the Twins could sort of like pick their shot and spend a lot of money on one of those guys. I'm not sure about the Padres, who normally would be among that the big poker room table, the big limit table. But there's every report is that they're going to reduce payroll. We'll see. And then you got others on the list that that really need and want a high-end starting pitcher, like the Orioles, the Reds, the Cubs, and the Rays. They have, unlike the Cardinals, they have a lot of elite prospects that they can deal if they want to make trades. And then there's some other teams that want a high and need a high-end starter, but we don't take them seriously. I'm talking about, well, you probably can figure out who I'm talking about. I mean, the A's and the Royals. Okay, good luck. Go get yourself a high-end starter. What are you talking about, Jack Flaherty? What are you talking about? So anyway, but that list of the big guys, the big teams, if Bill DeWitt and John Mozeliak ever thought it would be, relatively speaking, it would be like, okay, we know what we need, and we're willing to go get it, so let's go. I'm going to have to see it. And listen, by the way, that's not a unique opinion. I'm pretty damn sure that all of you feel the same way. I got to see it to believe it. I mean, when we look at the Cardinals' spending history, the negotiation history, the way that they are generally more conservative about their payroll than other teams that have now really raised their payroll in the last 3 years to like zoom ahead of the Cardinals or open a bigger gap on the Cardinals. It's legitimate to wonder if Chairman Bill DeWitt Jr. is truly willing to bid high enough money to come out on top in this arms race, or I should say the arm races, for those top tier starting pitchers that I mentioned, but even to a lesser point, the next tier starting pitchers that I mentioned. Because if the Cardinals go listen, I have no problem with them if they can get a high-end starting pitcher and then go into the next pool to get another one. I have no problem with that. But if they come up with something like a hypothetical, and this is just like very loosely, I figured I had to just come up with something that would give you some names, although these are not specific names that I know they're interested in. But if they get shut out among that top group because there are much more ambitious, aggressive, and big spending teams that want the same thing, that's trouble for the Cardinals unless they're willing to suspend and demolish everything they've always thought about spending big money on starting pitchers. Even if the Cardinals go down another level, yeah, they can sign or acquire several guys who will give them a better pitching staff. Because I'm talking about the starters. Because how do you not have a better pitching staff? Just if you address your by rotation by bringing in a volume, bringing in a number of starters, even if none of them are on the high end. But I think they need a high-end guy. I think they need it because the rotation needs it, and I also think they need it for their own credibility because John Mozeliak is not the greatest at messaging. And he led everyone to believe, we're going to get 3 starters. He never did mention what category of starters, however. We're going to get 3 starters. And then it's 2. And it's like, well, wait a minute. Is it a 2 or is it 3? Then it was 2.5. He actually said 2.5, meaning one of them would be a swing man. And so all you can do is really scratch your head and you say, that all these teams that I mentioned that do not hesitate to spend and spend freely to get something that they want, Dodgers, Yankees, Braves, Red Sox, Cubs, Mets, Phillies, Rangers, Giants, and maybe Twins. They're not going to sit there and, hesitate and balk and, overanalyze and take forever and kind of hem and haw. They're not going to do that. They're going to say, okay, we need one of these top guys. Let's go get him. Boom, done. And not only were those teams will be competing with each other, and they have the money to spend and the desire to spend whatever it takes for the most part. That's going to make it really, really tough for the Cardinals to swim with those sharks. So you can get lesser starters, and you can put a premium on volume and having a lot more depth than you had last year. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but it's the kind of thing that would get all of their critics and all of their skeptics and even really moderate fans in terms of that stuff thinking, well, wait a minute, you misled us again. You told us you were going to do this. You told us this was your goal, and you sort of backed off of that. And so you went out and you signed, listen, we appreciate the fact that, yeah, you're going to have enough pitching, but is it going to be good enough? It's one thing to have enough pitching, but is it good enough pitching? In other words, you spent $44 million on Steven Matz three off seasons ago, which you would call a half-measure way to address a glaring need. And if you continue to take these half-measure steps, I don't think most of the fans would be happy with that. I think it would invite more criticism. It would invite more unrest. It would invite people, quite frankly, to take the stance that they're going to buy fewer tickets, or they're not going to buy season tickets. They're going to buy a reduced package of season tickets, whatever. I've never said the Cardinals need to make a big splash just to make a big splash, because I don't think they should do something dumb. They should try to make a big splash only if it's something that's absolutely going to help their team. But in this marketplace, and let me get to this because it's related. In this marketplace, are the Cardinals really going to pony up with the kind of money it's going to take to beat the big dogs in bidding for these top group of starting pitchers? You say, well, they can. You just said it, Bernie. They can trade. Well, yeah, they can, and I think they will, and I think they'll get a high-end pitcher out of it. But how much will they weaken the club that they have by doing it? I mean, a high-end starter is really nice. And I want one too, and they need one. But a high-end starter actually pitches in terms of actually being in a game. He works once a week. Maybe let's be specific. He works once every 5 days. And you have how many innings of baseball per week? And even a high-end starter, if he goes 6 innings, that's like 6 innings every 5 days. Maybe the occasional 7 innings. You have a lot of games and a lot of innings to cover in between handing the ball to your high-end starter that you got in a trade. But what about who you giving up to get him? I mean, the Cardinals like to act like they got the 1970s Big Red Machine offensively or something, And what if you take away a couple of key parts, 1 or 2 or whatever it may be? Well, do you lessen the impact of your offense? Do you put your offense, which is good, with a chance to be better than good, but if you weaken it by trading a Gorman or a Donovan or, a couple other people we can mention, Newt Barr, well, then what? Is that really offset by having one high-end starter as an addition to your staff? You had to give up a pretty big price to get him, or do you not give up the big price and you sort of, again, settle for maybe somebody that would be a really good starter that they could use, it would make them better, but you don't have to give up as much in a trade? I don't know. That's the thing. Why would I know? How would I know? Because the Cardinals' messaging follows this same pattern year after year after year, and I actually try to defend them. I really do try to defend them if I think there is a defense to make for them. Not that it's my job to do that. But I still stand by the one thing that I've said, which is, I don't care really, even though I've just talked about, well, they said this, and now they may do that. Yeah, we can monitor what they say, but to me, and I know Dane Perry of Birdie Work actually agrees with this, to me, the words don't matter, the actions matter. They can say whatever the hell they want to say, and we can react to that. But the bottom line is, in fact, the bottom line. When the holidays pass and you get into January and all the teams have made their moves and there's only maybe some stragglers left, by the time you're ready to go to spring training, what have you done to make your rotation considerably better? I don't care what you said in advance. I don't care what you said in the summer. I don't care kind of like the tap dancing you seem to be doing now. The only thing that really matters is what it's going to look like at the end of the offseason in terms of who you've added or who you have not added. But, man, it's just I don't understand. And I wish I could talk to Mo about this. He probably would not invite my advice. But I gave him this advice. I know that sounds self-important. I apologize. I gave him that advice, years ago. I said, look, man, you got to improve your messaging, Because he's like, well, why are you getting all snarky about stuff I said the other? I said, because, your messaging is all over the place, and you say something, and then you don't think you're backtracking, and you're maybe not even backtracking, but you give the impression of backtracking, and you got to stop doing that. You just got to stop doing it, but he still does it. And the message, his unpopularity is it's attributable to a lot of reasons, right? There's several reasons for that. But one of it is that the messaging that he does is just so poor, and I'm not trying to be nasty. It's not gratuitous, because this is something that I have believed for a long time, even when they were doing much better than they are. The messaging consistently leaves their fans, their customers, confused, frustrated, angry. That's not good. If you are the primary spokesman that is going to message your customers and the media, you're gonna craft the message about, okay, we know we had a bad season. This is what we have to do. This is what we're going to do. And then you don't do it, or you backtrack from doing it even before you have a chance to put in your first bid for a starting pitcher. When your messaging is like constantly changing and constantly fluctuating and constantly giving people a reason to say, well, wait a minute. You just said this 2 months ago. What has changed? And why has it changed? Please explain yourself. Poor Mo is all over the place. He's got Katie Woob reporting at The Athletic that they're going to get, they're still going to get 3 starters. You got Ben Frederickson wrote a good and a fun column in the Post-Dispatch last week about the Cardinals' math is comical. Basically it's just like their math doesn't make sense. 3 starters. No, it's 2. Now it's 2.5. So no one knows for sure right now exactly what they plan to do and will do. But if you're looking at the high-end guys, man, again, you are swimming in a shark tank. I really just don't see Bill DeWitt, metaphorically speaking, looking Steve Cohn in the eye and saying, oh, so that's what you're offering NOLA, huh? Well, how do you like this? This is what we're offering. We're going to offer a lot more than you are. When's that going to happen? No, it never will. So forget about it. It's just the Cardinals are set in their ways. They do things a certain way. They may make themselves uncomfortable to a certain extent. But as far as like going to toe-to-toe with the big spenders who are all looking for the same thing you are, no. That's not a fight that they can win, and I don't think it's a fight they really want to get into in a serious way. I hope I'm wrong. I don't want to criticize them in advance, but that's just kind of the way I see it. But what about even the back-end starters, right? We talked about the high-end starters. According to Tim Brittain, who has a good read on this situation, there are 7, including the Cardinals, there are 17 major league teams mentioned on a list of those wanting back-end starters, including the Cardinals, the Brewers, the Astros, plus some of the big boys are in that pool as well, the back-end pool. Red Sox, Dodgers, Mets, Astros, Cardinals, Giants. That's not going to be as easy as you might think in advance of the actual auction starting. And keep in mind, and this is problematic for a team like the Cardinals, Orioles have so many prospects they don't know what to do with them, and they're really good. I mean, really good. The Reds have so many prospects, they got people calling them for trades. It's like, hey, we really want Jonathan India to play second base, blah, 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 blah. The Reds are in a position to barter prospects because it can't fit them all and to get a lot of good stuff. The Cubs can do that too, and I think even the Pirates can do that. I know the Brewers can because they have a dramatically improved farm system that in terms of their high-end, their high-level prospects are really, really good. And there's a lot of teams who would love those, 1 or 2 of those guys. So the Cardinals are positioned in a what's the word? Unfortunate spot? Awkward spot? They don't have as many elite prospects to offer in trades as some of the up-and-coming teams do after all those years of tanking. And they don't have the heart or the past willingness or the current willingness to outbid the Dodgers or the Red Sox or the Mets or the Cubs or anybody else you want to name from that big shark pool. You know, sometimes, Jim Hewer, I think, and this isn't a hot take. First of all, other people have wondered about this. And if I wonder about it, it's only because I really am starting to think about it. Because if the Cardinals go into the offseason and they make a trade for one guy, and maybe it's a guy we all like and say it's good they got him, but there'll be some kind of squawking over who they gave up, no matter what they give up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, you can't give up Herrera. Whoever it is. Can you believe they gave up this guy? They're going to have to give up somebody of importance, somebody that we all like. You got people that are willing to throw themselves in front of a train. The idea of like Tommy Edmonds going to be traded. Seriously, you got people that would throw themselves in front of an oncoming train to prevent that. So if people are going to if people are going to just climb out of their skulls the idea of trading Tommy Edman, you're not going to get positive approval on anybody you trade, anybody that matters, and anybody that's really going to command a good return in terms of a starting pitcher. They're in a tough spot. So here's my hot take that is not a hot take because it's something I've been thinking more and more about. So if the Cardinals go out this winter, and again, this is me, I'm just trying to throw names into to give you an idea of what I'm talking about, but these are not any names that are connected to the Cardinals. So what if there's a list right now. If I said Seth Lugo, Lucas Giolito, Kyle Gibson, Kenta Maeda, what if they get two from that list? Two from that list of Giolito, Lugo, Gibson, or Maeda. By the way, a lot of teams going to go after Lugo. Or maybe they fill a spot with a reclamation case, like I mentioned him the other day, Luis Severino. Or what if they say, and Mozeliak alluded to this in an interview the other day, well, it's possible, we'll look at some people that candidly may not be available to pitch early in the season. And I'm like, oh, no.
Uh-huh.
Not Frankie Montas, not Tyler Mahle. Tyler Mahle's coming off shoulder stuff, man. You don't fool with that. Oh, no. So if they come back, their remedy for this is to, bring you Kyle Gibson and Kenta Maeda or Giolito and Maeda or whatever. Combination of those four guys, two of those guys, and then a reclamation project, and then maybe a guy who's still rehabbing from a pretty serious injury. What do you think the fan response would be?
Oh, boy.
Go ahead, you tell me, because then I'll finish my thought.
It'll be very ugly. It'll be more of Mo's got to go. Mo's lost his mind. There's no way I'm going down to the ballpark to buy tickets to watch.
DeWitt's cheap. He won't spend money. He never will. I don't know why guys like Miklasz think that he will, because he never does. It'll be all that stuff.
And if that's all they do, I would kind of be questioning it myself. But yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Here's the decision here's something the Cardinals need to think about. They won't. Because even though they do backtrack and circle back and kind of back off things they say when they're trying to give the media something like, oh, see, they're going to go get 3 starters, If the Cardinals are going to take these some half-measure steps, and I repeat something I said earlier, yeah, it'll give them more depth with starting pitching. But does it enable them to match up with the real serious teams as in terms of contending for Final Four or World Series? If you're going to lose more fans or have more unhappy fans because you take, another series of half-measure steps, if you do, or you bring in an injured guy who's not going to be available right away, or whatever it may be, if the fans are going to be so ticked off and disappointed by that you're going to lose more business. Number one, do you really think by doing that, all of a sudden you go from your fourth worst season in the last 77 years to you're like, they're contenders again. And by the way, the object isn't just contending. For a franchise like the Cardinals, it should be above that, of course. The object is to win a National League pennant and put yourself in position to win a World Series. So when they say, no, our goal is to win in 2024. Well, if you take half-measure steps or you make a trade that weakens your offense, unless you can pawn off O'Neill and Carlson to get a much better pitcher than anyone would expect, so what? You're going to go from 71 wins to 95? Really? You may finish with a winning record if you're talking about, instant turnaround. Our priority is 2024. So number one, is that realistic? Especially if you can't get two high-end starters, one in free agency, one in a trade? And, by the way, we haven't even mentioned the bullpen. So can you actually be the team that you were in 2022 when you won, 92 games? Or was it 93? 92 or 93 games? Won the division? Can you really pull that off? I know the division is going to be a little weaker because of Milwaukee having a retool, but the Cubs should be better, and the Reds should get better. The Pirates are even getting better. So my point, I'm getting too tangled up here in the weeds here. I apologize. How much can you realistically improve unless you make a couple of impact moves for high-end starting pitchers? And with some depth behind that. And with a reinforced bullpen to go along with it. Now, how can you get all that done? How can you get all that done to have this very quick and dramatic turnaround? Number two, second question. First, was this 2024 realistic, especially if you don't get high-end pitchers, starting pitchers? Number two, isn't 2025 a more realistic option? You retool next year, you have a respectable team, you have a team with a winning record. Fans can see that, okay, at least they're building towards something. They've accepted reality here. And listen, you probably still lose some business. I'm not suggesting otherwise, but if you sort of recover and you have a nice season next year, even if it's not the season ideally you would want or ideally the fans would want, but you'll be so much better positioned for 2025. All right, how many people would say, that's it, I'm done? How many disappointed or angry fans would there be? If you think internally, if you're the Cardinals and the people that call the shots, if you think internally, well, if the fans are going to get ticked off, and look, we let the starting pitching thing decline for a long time, and we're paying the price now, and we can't fix all of that after such a long period of neglect. So if they're going to be mad at us anyway, let's rebuild. That's number three. That's the number three question. Let's rebuild and just do this the right way. When we say rebuild, we're not talking about sentencing the fan base to a bunch of 95 lost seasons or worse. We're talking about taking a little more time and doing it right. See if anybody wants Goldie. See if Arenado wants out of here. What could you get for him? I mean, these are some of the things I'm talking about. If you could get a bonanza, especially in the Arenado situation, if you can get a bonanza in terms of a return on the return on the exchange for him, this is all hypothetical. And even in Goldie before next season, they're not going to do it. I just don't think they're going to do it. But we're talking hypotheticals. If you did that, I mean, if you just said, look, we're going to be honest with you. We've been hemming and hawing. We've been saying this, saying that. We don't think we can do it in a way that's going to satisfy you. We need to go into a little deeper rebuild here. I don't know. How would that go over?
I think that would be worse. Because people would say, all right, well, call me when you get good again because I'm not coming down to the ballpark.
See, that's what I think Bill DeWitt and John Mozeliak and all the Kings men would say too. I would maintain that if you take the more I think about this, it's the only reason why I'm bringing this up. I would think if you're going to just continue to get outspent by teams that want the same thing that you absolutely must have, And it happens over and over and over and over again. And you give the fans who already don't believe it's never going to change, the fans who still believe it might change, they're going to say, well, forget about it. It's obviously never going to change. The Cardinals are kind of behind the times of what it takes to really build the best possible team you can if you aspire to win a world championship. And they're not going to outbid all these big shooters. So then you take some half measure steps, and you risk doing the whole Steven Matz thing all over again. If I were a season ticket holder, I would actually be more ticked off by that, by delaying what appears to be obvious, and by not having the stones to kind of say, you know what, we need a deeper rebuild. A deeper rebuild is not a teardown. It's not ripping apart the entire home. It's not losing close to 100 games 3 years in a row. But you're just being straight with your fans about what's required to actually replenish this thing. And hopefully they'll also get lucky with some of the prospects that they acquired, and even some of the prospects they have on their own, pitching prospects primarily. I don't know. I mean, I don't have like an obvious answer about what's right, but to just kind of string this along and to string this out, and still not be where you need to go in terms of personnel, starting pitching personnel, I don't know. Doesn't that cause you harm as well? I don't know. And then you got Mozeliak's going to be here 2 more seasons. Okay. What's that going to look like at the end of those 2 seasons? And if they go outside the organization to bring in a new top baseball executive, what is he going to want to do? There's just a lot of questions. I guess if you ask me to sum it all up, there's a lot of serious questions have to be asked here. That's all.
Yeah, the philosophy is, that's the question. What is your philosophy, St. Louis Cardinals? What are you going to do here? You're going to try and, like you said, build it up, get it ready to go for next year, or let's pull it back and try and rebuild this thing in a proper way where we got a little more cost control and be better for years down the road. You mentioned the John Mozeliak situation. I'm curious how they will address that. And I know Chaim Bloom's name came up. If I'm Chaim Bloom, I might go, yeah, I might be interested in coming here. Maybe I could work my way into being the guy that takes over from Mo. I don't know that, but that's a thought,
Listen, it's plausible because Chaim Bloom is tight with Mo, and I would assume Gersh and all the other people there. I mean, Chaim Bloom's got a very friendly association and relationship with the Cardinals people, and he admires the Cardinals. I could definitely see that scenario that you're talking about.
And Texter just said, I agree with you, Bernie. They're going to lose more fans with this current ambiguous, less than truthful approach versus just being honest with people. So
I know that's all I'm trying to say.
Yep.
Maybe the immediate damage would be more severe, but they're already talking about that now. That's the other thing they're doing, more than they were. You listen to the interviews, the weekly thing Mozeliak does on KMOX, any number of things. The TV contracts, more of the dialogue now. Well, we're not sure about this. We're not sure about that. And then Mozeliak's almost trying to throw it back at the fans when he's like, well, if our ticket revenue goes down, he's basically saying it's going to limit what they can do. Which, come on.
You can't do that.
To quote Theo Epstein again, back from when he took over the Cubs, he said the Cardinals have the financial power to do whatever they want to do. Does it sting to lose ticket revenue? Sure. But they're again, the messaging is now kind of like, well, what? I need a compass here. Can you show me exactly where you're going to go?
It's true.
And like how long it's going to take. And if you're not going to be prepared to make a full financial commitment to win these free agent battles and things like that, then do it the other way and be upfront with people and say we're in a deeper set of circumstances than we wanted to admit, but we have to do this. we need a larger rebuild, and we have to be prudent about it, and it is going to make us better over time. And we're not going to be horrible, but again, just so you understand where we're going to be for a couple, 3 years. I'd rather hear the truth, than have them string me along with these half-measure moves. That's all I'm trying to say.
I think most people would agree with you on that one, 100%. I mean, do you want to sit here and go, well, I can get you some more Steven Matz on the market? Go, no, yeah. I don't want to pay to go see that anymore. Been there, done that.
Like when our good friend Derek Gould, he was doing a thing about the pitching market, and this a couple 3 weeks ago, and he wrote, and he was right, and that's why I'm bringing it up. The Cardinals are they had interest in Nick Martinez before, and he opted out, so they have more. They definitely have interest in him now. Mm-hmm. And don't get me wrong, if you have a really good pitching staff and you add Nick Martinez to it, you're like, you know what, that's a nice move. He can start, he can pitch relief. Is he a high-end starter? No, but he's middle of rotation, maybe a number 4, but he's also good coming out of the bullpen. You can move him back and forth. That's a valuable guy to have. But if that's like your big get this offseason,
right.
Come on, no. That's a half-measure move.
Yeah, no more of those.
Oh, boy.
Those are what people would in this division used to look at the Pirates and Reds go, those are the moves they used to make. Right. And they never, ever worked out. Just a guy to get them through to where they can get maybe a few prospects to work it. That never worked out.
They're in a tough spot.
They really are.
And that's why you're hearing what appears to be some backtracking and appears to be kind of changing the script of the message, And I'm rooting for these guys. Yeah. I know, I really am. I'm rooting for Bill DeWitt. I'm rooting for Mo. I've seen him do it before. I think they have it in them to do again, but you got to really, I don't know how to put it. You not only have to recommit to what made you great to begin with, that you've sort of lost over the last few years. You got to recommit in a big way, Yeah. If not, then just do something methodical and start not from scrap. I don't mean that, but just build around the young players you have. Gradually add pieces. Don't do it under duress where you're rushing and you're like, oh, we got to do something now. Where you have time to actually make some smarter moves there'll be higher impact moves without the pressure of like, well, you got to do it now. You just build your team in a more methodical way and get better players and pitchers. It's just going to take you a little bit longer to do. That's all I'm trying to say. Anyway, I better shut up because we got to take a break here.